How would you, Cleveland Watkiss, describe yourself as a person stroke artist?
How would I describe myself as a person stroke artist? Well, as a person, I'm an activist in that I'm very much concerned about what's going on globally around the world, and especially amongst our people. And I'm very vocal about that, and because now we have the advent of social media, I'm able to really share a lot of things that trouble me. But as an artist, I'm a vocal explorer. I love the sound of the voice in all its dimensions. I'm just talking about sound. I'm not talking about singing per se. I'm talking about your speaking voice. I'm talking about when I listen to people communicate with each other. For me, it's all music. I hear music. When I hear you speak, when I hear your tones, Michaels, when I hear music, I hear rhythm, I hear texture, I hear sounds. And I love languages. I love listening to that's the beautiful thing about traveling, is that you meet different people and you hear different sounds, you hear different languages, and they all infuse. For me, that's kind of it's a universe within itself. The sound of the human voice, you know, it really is. It's a universe within itself. So yeah, a vocal explorer, a vocal scientist. I don't know. I don't know what the word is, but I just love the sound of the human voice in all its glory and all its dimensions.
Where did it all begin for you, musically, with regards to growing up in Hackney? Were you raised within a musical environment, parental, sibling-wise?
It all began for me sitting in my cot with the radio, the gram, yeah, the blue spot, yeah, on in the background. And I remember as a little kid, maybe a baby, the radio on, being in a cot, and just, I can still remember those sounds. Because remember, sound is vibration. Vibration is what creates everything. Everything is vibrating. So those sounds that were vibrating when I was a little kid, they become part of my structure, my fabric. You know. So what was on the radio? I was hearing probably the Beatles, stuff that my parents were playing, coming from a Caribbean family. So I was hearing a lot of music. My dad was an amateur DJ, so we'd hear a lot of different things in the house, from Ray Charles to the latest ska blue beat tunes that was happening in the early 60s. So I was unconsciously, I was absorbing all this stuff. So as a young child, as a young boy, for me, my understanding is that that's what everyone does. Everyone sings. Everyone does music. That's, you know, because you can only equate it to what you understand around you. You know, my parents didn't go to, didn't go to like university or college and anything like that. So you know, we learnt and got all our understanding, as you do, from your environment, from your folk. And my mum loved to dance. My dad loved to dance. You know, weekend come, there's always parties around our house, you know, domino, cards and all that great stuff, you know, and I saw that as a kid, you know, and I heard all this music. So for me, everyone's world was like that. I didn't know no better until I got into until much later, then I realized, oh, everyone don't sing? Everyone doesn't listen to, like, you've never heard that, you never heard ska? You know, and you start to, and then you start to understand, oh, right, so you got different cultures and different environments, and that one moves over there, and that one, you know, and that's part of that culture, and that, you know, so, yeah, it was, so that really informed, and the school I went to as well, was really interesting, because in our infant and primary school, in assembly time, we would sit and listen to classical music in silence. So that was part of the assembly. So we'd sit and they'd put on, I don't know, whatever, Bach, Beethoven, or whatever they would be playing, and we'd sit in silence and listen to it. So now remember, I'm absorbing all this. You know, I'm not being prejudiced. I've got no judgment on it. All I'm doing is listening to it and absorbing it. And no one's told me anything about it. I don't know anything. Just boom, you're just listening. And it was only, again, you know, later on in life, you hear these things again on radio or whatever, and you go, oh, hold on a minute, I used to hear that at school. And you find out that, you know, it's Beethoven's Fifth, or, you know, sort of Bach inventions or whatever. And all that stuff went in. You know, all that stuff is part of becomes a part of you. Growing up in Hackney, living in Hackney all your life, you know, I was around the Asian community, African community, Jewish community, the Muslim, you know. So, you know, all these energies, man, all these spices, if you like, they all kind of season you up, you know, to make you into whatever who you are. You know, your environment is you're very much groomed by that environment. I just feel that in Hackney, where I grew up, man, and I never moved from Hackney. I moved to different spots of Hackney, but it was always in Hackney, you know. Yeah, and then the last spot where I was in, it was what they called Murder Mile at the time, in the sort of late 90s, early 20s, which is Upper Clapton, because so many people were getting shot. It was like, you hear a gunshot, you hear helicopters, it was just like, normal. It just became, it got so normalized to that environment. And, I mean, it's all changed now around there. It's kind of, you know, you £5 for a coffee and £20 for a lump of cheese now. Clapton. But you know, so my environment informed my music and how, and my outlook as well. Just the way that I would grow up and start to appreciate different types of music, and introduce it into what I do. You know, so as much as I guess the first music that I really latched onto was the sound system and the dub in the 70s, because when I was at school, everyone had a sound system. You know, everyone was following the sound. I was following Fat Man's sound system from Tottenham. That couldn't tell me nothing about no other sound. Fat Man, yeah. And I even got my first live performance was actually singing. Fat Man used to run talent competitions, and I entered one and won it. And that was the spark. I think I was, 14 or 15 or something like this. So that was really the initial spark that really got me on the road to thinking about a career in music, was when I won that talent competition. It just gave me the confidence, like, what I can really, maybe I can do this, you know, you just, that was the real spark. So sound system was, for me, sound system culture was extremely important to me growing up, and still is. You know, it still informs what I do, and my music. So yeah, that's the start.